Welcome to Season 3 of the Changing Earth podcast with Sarah F. Hathaway, blending survival fiction and fact to bring you entertaining education that will help you dream, survive, and thrive. And now, here's your host, Sarah F. Hathaway.
Hello and welcome to the Changing Earth podcast. This is episode number 97, Season 3, Episode 16. So excited to have you back with me this week. It's been quite an interesting few days for me. On Friday, I was just about to finish up all of the editing process and writing of the blog and everything that I do for the podcast when my hard drive completely crashed. Needless to say, I had some practice in my anger management skills. And I, finally got it figured out that I just need a new machine. My husband was right by my side. It's not money we wanted to spend right now, but you've got to do what you got to do. And it's my computer is how I make my living. So got a new machine with all the hustle and bustle of going to Texas. I do use an external hard drive, but I didn't have it backed up as well as I should have. So I lost a lot of material. It was a big time bummer. And I lost this interview that I'm going to show you today with Douglas Hogan. And, it really set me back a couple of paces. But in the end of the end, I've got, everything I need. I have this wonderful, wonderful community that I really need to send a thank you to because they've been so patient and so agreeable and everybody's so willing to help each other out. And I really needed them and they really came through for me. Douglas Hogan and we have done this interview now about 3 times. I lost the initial one. The second one, I was having technical problems because of my new machine. And so we finally got one produced. I'm bringing it to you. And I never record this close to air date. I'm actually the day before air date. And I'm so excited to even have a show for you. I thought this was going to be the first week when I was going to have to say, hey guys, I'm super sorry, but I'm having so many technical difficulties. I just couldn't do it. But power through, use those anger management skills, start solving the problem, finding answers. And that's exactly what I did. So I got the show for you today and I'm super excited to bring it to you. Last week in the Walls of Freedom story, the kids were out going on the scouting mission while mom and dad rested with Daniel, who's just recovering. So they're out scouting, teenagers out scouting. Definitely a interesting situation, even though they've grown up in a much, much different world than what we enjoy here in our country. So they're going out on the scouting mission, and while they're out, they use a series of hand signals for communication and to stay quiet. So great way to communicate, great way to stay silent and be able to move about and relay technical information to your partner. So here to talk to us about hand signal basics, technical hand signal basics, how those work and how you can apply them to your daily life so that you begin practicing, you begin using these things, because if you ever did need them, it's like a second language. If you don't practice, you're not going to have it in your toolbox. So thank you very much for listening to the show, coming back with me this week. Happy to be here with you. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into the Walls of Freedom story.
Chapter 16. Dex and Star packed light, enthusiastically setting off through the dark to go and explore the nearby town. Do you really think that your grandma and grandpa will be excited to see me? Star whispered to Dex as they carefully picked their way along the brush. Honestly, Star, I don't know. But from what I remember, they were 2 of the kindest people in the world. And if they love you just half as much as we do, then that will be enough, Dex answered. But do you think they'll really accept me as one of the family? Star pushed. Dexter stopped and looked her square in the eyes. Star, you are one of the family, and no one can take that from you. You have to just face it. You're stuck with us, he teased. Ah, thanks, little brother. She wrapped her arm around his neck and hugged him. They pressed on slowly, the ruins in the distance coming closer and closer. Soon they were among the dilapidated houses that sat in rows on the street. It was eerily quiet, and they traversed the area using hand signals that would indicate to their partner when to move and when to stop. As Dex rounded the corner of a home, he heard hushed voices coming from the glow of a small fire. He signaled for Star to stop, then pointed 2 fingers at his eyes and pointed his fingers out in the direction of the fire. Star quickly moved forward and looked in the direction Dex had indicated. It looked as if it was only 2 men, but there was always someone on watch. She ran up close to her brother. "Let's split up and circle around the outside to find their lookout," Star suggested. "Got it," Dex responded, his brown hair falling into his face. "You need to cut that," Star said as she moved off. "I kind of like it," Dex mumbled to himself. The 2 teens worked their way around the men at the fire, but never found a lookout. They whistled to one another and approached cautiously. "No looky-loo," Dex commented. "I didn't find one either," Star agreed. "Weird, isn't it?" "Very," Dex confirmed. "I guess we'll split back up and enter from either side," he declared courageously. "Sounds good. I'll wait for your cue," Star replied. Star studied the men as Dex made his way back around to the other side of them. One of them was a lanky black man with an afro cut short atop his head. He seemed to be the more animated of the 2, and he paced by the fire using grand arm gestures as he talked to the other man. The other man sat by the fire. He had a ball cap on and his silhouette showed a long beard hanging down over a muscular frame. Star watched carefully for Dex's figure to emerge into the firelight. When it did, she carefully approached the men from behind. They were now standing with their arms raised in front of Dexter. "We didn't do anything," the black man was frantically pleading. "We are landowners from Gerlach. We are unarmed and perfectly within our right to be here." Star was quickly assessing the situation. They must have thought Dexter was a mercenary soldier, all dressed in his camouflage. Star awaited Dex's reply, but the boy was much too naive. "You guys are unarmed? Really?" Dexter questioned. "Of course we are. You damn mercs wouldn't have it any other way," the man with the beard replied, studying the young man carefully. "What makes you think I'm a merc?" Dex questioned. "Ahem." Star cleared her voice loudly behind them, so they would turn their attention to her before Dexter blew their chance to get information. "Look, lady, we already told the kid. We are unarmed, so you can stop pointing those guns at us," the black man pleaded again. "Keep your hands in the air," Star tried to sound very official. "Who are you?" she wondered. "My name is Leroy Tincata, and he's Mac Crystal," Leroy declared, indicating his partner. "You may have heard of Mac. He helps you guys fix up your vehicles when you're patrolling out here." Mac just stood there with a thoughtful look on his face. "Oh yeah, I've heard of him." Star tried her best to convince him. Dexter was bewildered by what Star was saying, but he was catching on quick to Star's game. "What are you 2 doing out here?" Star questioned. "We're out looking to get some more copper wire for our power systems back at Gerlach," Leroy answered quickly. It was obvious they were used to this type of questioning. Who authorized this? Star wondered who they were accustomed to answering to. Leroy looked confused for a moment, and Star's heart pounded. She hoped she had not blown her cover. "We ran the idea by the Major when he was in town a couple of weeks ago, but technically landowners from Gerlach don't need authorization to enter Empire," Leroy explained slowly. "I know, I was just curious to know who the Major is out here," Star stammered, kicking herself for explaining. They would figure out their ruse for sure now, she thought. "You guys aren't from around here, are you?" Matt questioned, motioning Leroy to stop talking. "No, we are from the east," Dexter interjected, seeing Star falter. "First time out in the Badlands." "How did you get here?" Mac wondered. "We didn't see a truck pull up." "We parked it a ways back and walked in," Dex defended. "Where's the Major?" Mac interjected. "He's back at the base. We were sent out scouting." Star had found her voice again. "You know where he is, but not who he is? Why were you sent out scouting before meeting with your CO?" Mac wondered. "Well, actually," Star had to repair the damage quickly. "We heard there's some wanted refugees that may be coming through here, and we would get a big reward if we brought them in," Star answered, prying to find out if they had heard about them. "We heard about them," Leroy added excitedly. The government has been blasting the radio waves with the news. Mac shot Leroy a look. Obviously, he wasn't buying Star and Dexter's story. Leroy shook it off and continued. Supposed to be a family of murderous thieves. Scary people, Leroy added with a shudder. Yeah, that's why we're after them, Dex said confidently. Well, you guys aren't going to find anything in the dark. Why don't you join us by the fire? Mac urged, trying to get Leroy to shut up. He wasn't buying the story these two young soldiers had produced. No, we have to get back to base. We just wanted to poke around a little and see if we could find them, Star declined politely. Okay, but it's nice and warm, Mac encouraged. Really, we have to be getting back, Dex agreed. If I can't convince you, at least tell me your names so I can let Major Burgess know how diligent you two young soldiers are next time he comes around, Mac added, extending his hand for a shake. Private Johnson is the name. It was great to have met you, Dex said confidently. Private Smith, Star answered, kicking herself again for not coming up with something better. Privates Johnson and Smith. Okay, well, it was nice to have met you two, Mac said skeptically. It was great to have some company, Leroy added sarcastically. Have a good night, Star concluded as she and Dex cautiously stepped back into the darkness. They slowly left the ruins of the town, headed back to their family's camp. They left in the opposite direction and then slowly and cautiously doubled back so their tracks could not be followed. As they neared home base, they could still hear dogs howling in the distance. They glanced back towards the ruins of the town and just about tripped over their own feet when they saw truck lights in the distance, headed toward the ruins they had just come from. Oh crap, Star, Dexter explained. If it's Cole, they are going to tell him all about us. Oh man, Star was freaking out too. We should not have made contact, Dex. We have to go tell Mom and Dad. The two quickly ducked under the cliff that their parents had found to camp under. Everyone was already up and staring at them wide-eyed as they busted into the scene. Where the heck have you two been? Erica wondered. I was getting worried. You were supposed to be off watch an hour ago. Mom, Dad, we were out scouting and went to the ruined town over there, Star began. You did what? That was stupid, Vince interjected. Just listen, Dad, Star continued. Dexter went over and grabbed a bowl of stew. Then he went to sit by Daniel and eat. He was excited to see his little brother with life in his eyes again, and Star could tell the story without him being in the line of parental fire. So we went to the ruins, and we found two guys there scavenging, Star continued. You didn't talk to them, did you? Erica wondered, starting to feel there was a big problem coming. Just listen, Star demanded, knowing the urgency of their situation. We did talk to them. They thought we were mercs. We found out Major Cole Burgess is the commander out here. And then, when we were leaving, we saw military trucks headed towards the town. What? Oh, great. Erica knew there was something coming. The radio has been informing them about us. The message explains that we are murdering thieves and shouldn't be protected, Star concluded, grabbing a bowl of stew for herself. Let's get packed up, Vince concluded. We can get some distance between us and them before daylight hits. I agree, Erica said, packing up their gear. How about you, Daniel? You ready for some early morning walking? Sure, Daniel replied positively. It warmed Erica's heart to hear his cheery voice again and see his energy returning. Did you get enough to eat, guys? Erica asked before she began packing their provisions. Sure did, Mom, Dex said, rinsing his bowl. Erica noticed how deep his voice was getting and how much taller than her he was growing. Good, let's wear the thermal cloaks, Erica added as she and Vince hoisted their packs and grabbed their guns. What about those dogs? Daniel wondered fearfully as they exited the cliff camp. I'd rather take my chances with them over my chances with those soldiers, Danny. Come on, Big Bro will watch out for you, Dex reassured him.
Well, I warned you that those crazy teenagers might be getting into trouble. But even though they were raised in a very different world, they're still teenagers, and they can still find a little bit of trouble to get into now and again. But while Dexter and Star were out scouting, they communicated using tactical hand signals. and here to talk to us today about tactical hand signal basics and how we can learn them and begin to practice them so that they stay in our memory banks is L. Douglas Hogan. L. Douglas Hogan is the author of the Tyrant series and Oath Takers. He's been featured on season 2 and 3 of the Changing Earth podcast. L. Douglas Hogan is a USMC veteran with over 20 years in public service. Among these are 3 years as an anti-tank infantryman, 1 year as a Marine Corps marksmanship instructor, 10 years as a part-time police officer, and 17 years working in state government doing security work and supervision. He is the best-selling author of Oath Takers, has authored 4 books in a series called Tyrant, and is working on the 5th and final book to the series, and he has since finished that one. It makes a really nice box set. He's been married over 20 years, has 2 children, and is faithful to his church, where he resides in Southern Illinois. If you would like to get a hold of L. Douglas Hogan, you can contact him at www.ldouglashogan.com. That's www.ldouglashogan.com. Let's go ahead and welcome Doug to the show.
Hi, and welcome back to the Changing Earth podcast. Today I am back with my good friend L. Douglas Hogan for another take at our interview. We've had a little bit of technical difficulties along the way, so we're trying to get the content to you. And now we're down to the wire because this episode airs tomorrow. So
Yay.
Here we go. So, Doug, thanks so much for being patient and sticking with me on this process. I appreciate it.
Hey, this is an exciting interview, so I'm glad to be here no matter how many times it takes.
So the kids are out, they're scouting out in the book in this chapter, bunch of teenagers out there running around scouting. They use hand signals to communicate. So today we're going to be talking hand signals, and we know our hand signals by now.
We're pros, both of us.
That's right. So, Doug, what are some basics that we need to know about hand signals and some basic hand signals that we should know?
I learned some hand signals when I was in the Marines. I was in the infantry, and when you're on patrol, there's some basics that you need to know, and some certain, hand signals that kind of stick with you through the years. I'd say some basic ones are probably like go, stop, here, crouch, go prone, those kind of things. As an example, I guess now that we're on video, we can, kind of show like the stop. Either one of these will qualify as a stop for a hand signal. So you're moving
Right.
silently, you throw up the stop, or the closed fist, and that relays to everybody behind you, hey, we're stopping right here. Or if you want to go prone, say you're the guy up front, you want to just throw up the stop hand signal, and then you're listening for sound. So you want, let them guys know that you can hear. You hear something, you want to turn around, look at them, and go, signal down. So they're watching you. So they're going to, if you crouch, they're going to crouch. If you go prone, they're going to go prone. Those are some pretty basic ones. Some more pretty basic ones like, the numerics, you can go 1, 2, 3, and then it starts getting funny.
3 with
4.
the thumb out.
Yeah. And then it goes
thumb
5.
and 4.
And I want to say it goes to like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it gets kind of different because you can't communicate with both of your hands like we do as kids counting with all 10 fingers because we got a weapon in our hand.
Right. So you got to go down to one hand.
Right.
Which is, for everybody just listening, you got to get over to YouTube and look at the video for this one because hand signals is kind of a difficult thing to explain in all audio. So luckily we have the video capability to see like what's going on. So that helps. And so yeah, get over there and check that out. We got the stop sign. We got counting. I'm just gonna make sure that they can see it. Oh no, wait, I did it wrong. 1, 2, 3.
3, yeah, thumb out.
4. And why do they do the thumb out instead of just a regular?
I don't know, Sarah. I wish I made some of these things, but they would make sense to me at least.
I know. I hit the same wall with like learning about ammunitions and guns and everything. I'm like, okay, this is worse than the English language. Now we have way too many different like millimeters. Now this is inches. Now come on, guys.
Yep.
Can we just go to like a standard? Right. So yeah.
Okay, so the big ones that I wanted to hit on with the audience was the difference in the stop sign, which is the hand up or open hand, but the fingers closed, not your traditional, what your parents threw at you, the open hand, or the crossing guard, with the open hand. That's not a stop sign, that is 5.
Oh,
So.
parents throw at you. I was thinking books and vases and
Yeah, everything. The kitchen sink.
the kitchen sink.
And then the go signal, because usually we're like, go, it's a go,
Yeah.
thumb up or like pointing the direction. So the go is the chop chop motion, right?
Right. You wanna let everybody know. Okay, so we're moving forward. So use it a couple times in the forward position like that. You don't want to say, hey, it's okay, because there might be something up there, but you just want to move slower. You want to go slowly forward. Throwing up
Right.
thumbs up is like, hey, I was mistaken. There's nothing up here at all. Everything's A-okay. And so now you're breaking twigs and kicking stones and talking and,
And it turns out there's a posse ready to hunt you down right up there.
right. Silent mode.
Okay, so how about an example of like a scenario that you would give somebody if you're walking down the road, and an example of a sentence that you would make with your hand signals.
Okay, so some more information on hand signals is like, if there's like, you can use this for like, put my camera out here a little bit. So I got my arm out to the side and I'm making like a pistol symbol with my index finger and my thumb. I'm telling everybody behind me that there's a pistol. If I straighten my arm straight out like this, I'm telling everybody that there is a rifle. So if I'm going through the forest, I'm coming out into an opening and I see a compound or another place where there's some strangers, and one of them stays a lookout and he has a scoped rifle. Scope would be like this. So you have like your hands cupped in an O kind of a shape, when you're holding up to your eye. So I'm walking through the woods. I see this first because I'm the lead man. So I want to throw up my stop sign. I want to tell everybody to get down. They're going to get down. I want to look at everybody, be the first guy behind me and let him know that, hey, and I'm holding pointing to my 2 eyes. I see, a man with a rifle scoped, or you can say scoped rifle, however you want to.
Okay.
Whichever. So, and he's going to relay that's a whole lot of information right there that you're going to relay back to your second guy, and hopefully he gets it right and he ships it on back to the rest of the crew. They're all going to know that you have stumbled upon at least one person with a scoped rifle, and generally scoped rifles, if you got common sense, you understand that he's either hunting or he's a lookout. Those are your 2 options.
Right. Yeah. He's either out there sniping or he's hunting for game and whatnot.
Well, he's a sniper. He's a sniper. He's got a scoped rifle.
Yep. That's your assumption. So what are some pros and cons of using the hand signal method? So we kind of talked pros. Go ahead.
The kind of, the pros are, these things, they equip you with an ability to move silently through, when you don't want to be seen, you don't want to be heard, you want to communicate. So the pros are definitely, that's something that you can carry with you into a situation where you can communicate silently to keep your position unknown to who you're trying to be unknown to, and relay information back to your party. Like if you're a scout or you're a patrol party, you want to relay this information back to them. It's something that you want to learn and hold on to, which would be like the opposite of the con, that we don't want to let everybody know that we're out there. It's definitely a con of talking out loud when you're in the forest, and breaking twigs and making all kinds of noise. When we're not paying attention to our environment, we're making a lot of sounds.
Yeah, I'm a super loud talker too. My voice just travels all over the place, and so it's like anytime I can just shut up and make hand signals is probably the best thing for everybody involved.
And I'm not saying it's true to all females, but stereotypically females have like higher pitched voices than guys, and higher pitches
Right.
travel farther down through sound waves, so they're audible for farther distances. So if you're a female and you're on patrol and you do got to talk, we can all lower our voices a
You
little.
could lower your voice
Yeah.
lower.
So
Yeah, right.
even a woman can a little bit, So you got to
Yep.
keep that in mind when you're out there. But
Yeah, I learned that lesson the hard way out with the survival group. So now I tend to just be real quiet and lower my voice a little bit and try to just blend in with the guys instead so I don't get picked out like, oh, female right
you're
there.
female. Yeah, because you can blend in. You're wearing a hat. If you got I think you got longer hair, so you can like keep it up, in a bun or something like that in your cap.
Yeah, or I put my hood up, with all the gear on. You
Nobody
couldn't
knows.
tell except my voice is so it carries.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and if you're on patrol and you got a bunch of females, or several females in your group, everybody's blending in. All they see is like, say you got a group of 10 and half of them are females, if everybody's dressed up the same, I know we're kind of getting off topic, but if everybody's dressed up the same, well, and an enemy sees this from a distance, say in binoculars or a scope, if he's a lookout, he's going to see 10 men. That's all he cares about because everybody's armed.
Yep.
Ideal.
10 people. Another we did the you can communicate silently. A lot of good technical information we can communicate this way. Like you said, you can communicate the people and the weapons and are there animals, what are we approaching so we can get that message out there. So how about some cons? Because there's some obvious cons of using this system. So why don't
One of the
you
biggest cons. One of the biggest cons is that not everybody has the capacity to remember these signals and keep them, memorized. Maybe some of the basic ones, like stop, go, get down, are kind of simple. Especially if you can watch, if you can see the person in front of you, then you're in pretty good shape. But if you don't know real well these hand signals or you haven't practiced them at all, then if you're in like an environment where, say, you're in some extremely dense foliage or a forested area and you can't see the person in front of you very well, you may not have a clear view of his signal, and so you're not going to know in a rapid kind of situation that you need to get down. So that's just one con. Let me see. Not everybody's flown in them. So they have to be studied a lot and practiced a lot. And if you don't practice them a lot, then you forget them. It's like any other thing that you do in life. If you know a second language, you don't practice that language, eventually you're going to lose it altogether.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Latin was.
I learned a bunch of them, and now I'm like, I don't know, vehicle, like this way with the circle, right? And yeah, I just can't remember them. So I got to get back and get to my studying. Alrighty. So, we got to practice. We've got to, keep this stuff fresh in our mind. We got to make sure we have line of sight. The miscommunication is another one that if you don't know them or if it's being fed down a long line of people, we talked about just how you can get that message so messed up by the time it gets from the front to the back that it can get pretty interesting if you're at the back. I would probably just follow the lead of whoever's in front of me at that point. Like, okay, you do it.
It's ideal that everybody can see one person. You don't want to get spread out so far that you can't see the guy in front of you. That's important when you're using hand signals because the whole point of it is to move silently. But if you're moving silently, you have to see somebody, to follow a directive or a command. So you got to make sure that. And I've been in some stuff so thick you can't move 10 foot away from another person without losing sight of them. So you got to,
That's difficult because sometimes you don't want to be all grouped up. You could get taken out quicker if your group's all grouped up. So you want to spread a little bit to be able to make sure that if, something happens to one end of the group, it doesn't happen to the whole group. But then you start losing that line of sight and the message from your leader, and that could get pretty challenging.
Yeah, but I'm stuck in those situations where you have to group up. Like I was just saying about the environment is so dense with foliage and overgrowth that you have to stay tight to see each other. those are situations you can't avoid unless you just avoid the whole, dense environment to begin with. If you were really good at picking out, places to hold up, you'd want to probably pick out something that's surrounded by dense forest regions, so that nobody's going to get in without making noise.
Yeah, hearing.
So.
I was going to say, and from a defensive position too, you probably want to push groups into those areas so you can get them all bunched up and in a knot, and then you can surround them easier and things.
So if they're using hand signals through that place, then you could throw a grenade and they'll probably take them all out.
Right? That's what I'm thinking. So, oh yes, all ideas for the fictional novels.
Pipe bombs.
Right. So we talked a little bit about situations where we would use these types of hand signals. So let's go through some of those again so that the viewers actually get to hear what we've been talking about for days and it's properly recorded. So we're approaching a group who doesn't know us. Our group is approaching a lookout that doesn't know us. They're a potential friendly. So what do we do as the leader of our group there? How do we handle that situation?
Hopefully you got a good rapport built up with all the groups in your environment. If you're a fan of other post-apocalyptic books and storylines like I am, that you want to set up a network of groups and communities that have a similar view, I guess you could say, that see things the way that you do, so that you can get along with them and have a secure environment. So that being said, one thing you'd want to establish with some of your neighbors are, passwords, challenge words, challenge signals, different things like this, so that if you're approaching a group that you're familiar with, you can approach, and the lookout can see you coming, of course, and he's going to stop you. If he's a good sentry, he's going to probably point his rifle at you and throw out a challenge word or a challenge sentence, or ask you for a password or something to that effect. And then you're going to give them the answer to the puzzle or the riddle or the question or whatever you guys have set up in advance. You're going to know the answer to this, and so you can enter in. If you're coming with a group to meet another group, and you're not familiar with the group that you're approaching, you don't want to pull everybody out into the open,
right?
And put them in a dangerous situation precariously. So you want to be smart enough and prudent enough to make sure that everybody's separated. You got your resources left in the back in a concealed position. You probably set up a couple of snipers, to cover your back and to watch you as you enter into the danger zone to communicate with this lookout of this entry. Probably leave your second in command or somebody else who could be the leader, has leadership traits and qualities. Leave them in the back, so somebody with the understanding that they're going to take over should go awry. And so you're going to approach, with your hand on your rifle, your pistol, and you want to have it pointed down. You don't want to walk out pointing at him, because you're probably going to get shot and start some problems. But probably say go out there with one hand in the air and one hand on your rifle or pistol with it pointed in a downward position, so you're at least ready should something go wrong. That's also sending a signal to him that you're cautiously and safely approaching, but with one hand in the air, showing him also that you're approaching in peace. So he's going to probably establish some kind of a communication line with his people. So when he sees you coming with 2 or 3 guys, he's going to throw out a challenge word to you. Simultaneously, probably have somebody come to back him up.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like that. It would just be because every situation, if you had a group and every time you encounter another group, you're going to be looking at those kind of issues. I mean, that's going to be, we think life is stressful now. Huh. Try that out for size. So, where everybody you approach, you don't know if they're going to fire on you or not.
Most people out there don't know what it's like to have a rifle or pistol pointed at you. You got to be able to maintain your, maintain your bearing if somebody's pointing a death weapon at you, and you got to be able to think under pressure.
Yeah, that's so true. Because that's like rule number 1 with any gun is like, no pointing it at people, you know. So,
Yeah, unless you're willing to kill them. And so that's a very clear in the Tyrant series series of books that I wrote, you know, in after Endgame, there's none left except government individuals and veterans. So everybody's skilled. If they point a weapon at you, you know that they're not doing it carelessly, that they aim to kill you if you make one wrong move.
right. Yeah, that's the situation that I start struggling with those kind of issues in my book, because you know, it hits you on that emotional level. And that's really why I like the post-apocalyptic books, because it does bring that to reality for people to ponder, you know.
Yep.
Start thinking about it now. So one of the problems that I also have with my books is, so say you have somebody, one of your friendlies out on watch. This is a person from your group. They're out on watch, and you decide you're bored. You want to go hang out with them. So how would you approach them without getting killed?
Another group of friendlies?
Yeah, it's your buddy who's out there on watch, and you're going to go hang out with them. You know, so, but they hear somebody coming through the bushes. You know, I guess you could just yell, but if you wanted to remain silent, you know, I have them use like a series of clicks or whistles, you know, that are quieter than just like, hey dude, what up? You know?
Yeah, it's Doug. I'm coming back with 3.
Right? So is that the best way to go, really?
It's not the best way to go, because if I'm out with a group of 3 people and I'm coming back saying, hey, this is Doug, come back with a group of 3 people, what he may not know is I got hijacked out in the woods, and there are 10 guys with weapons trained on me, and I'm leading them right back to my group and my resources. So I'm telling him, hey, it's Doug, come back with 3. He lets his guard down because he knows my voice. You know, he can trust me. You know, I'm telling him that I'm coming back with 3 people, and I'm coming back with 13 people, and 10 of them are strangers, and they want our stuff. So the best way, I would say, is to set up like I was saying earlier, like a challenge word. So I'm coming back out of the woods, you know, and I'm going to say one particular phrase or one particular word that's going to let him know that, yeah, it's Doug, and yeah, it's safe. If I have another word that could let him know that I'm not safe, but I'm coming back with maybe some trouble, then he's going to recognize this. And he's
going to be like, turn around and go away, Doug.
Yeah, well, possibly, but he could also set things up so that you know, he can let me in, but also that we can set up like a counter ambush in a hurry, you know, so he knows that the group can hear it. Maybe the word is I don't know, sweaty hunt, or sweaty hunting gathering day, you know, feeling a little lightheaded, you know. And if I come back and say, yeah, everything's good, just feel a little lightheaded from my workout, or from all this hunting and gathering, and I say it loud enough, everybody in my group's going to hear that and recognize that something's up. So they're taking their positions and waiting for me to come in with these guys, so they could set up like a counter ambush.
Yeah, I like that one too. And also, you could do like the hand signal, like, yeah, I'm just coming back, everything's good. And they know, like, really the okay signal is like not good. Yeah. I'm definitely a fan of that. I like that idea a lot. Like I said, on a couple of occasions, that is going to go into book 4. I'll like work out a part just for that one, for sure. So
definitely don't want to say that's obvious to the reader. You know, I mean, not reader, to the group,
reader, listener.
Yeah, the people that's coming out of the woods. But you don't want to say anything to the people that you're coming back to that's going to be an obvious giveaway. You know, like you don't want to use negative words like it's bad, or you know,
it's hot.
It's hot. Anything that's going to relay to the people that's got guns trained on me and my friends that are with me, that I'm giving away their position, because that could also end us.
Right, really bad.
Yeah, so it's good to have a backup plan, a plan A and a plan B.
And probably a C and a D.
Contingencies. You may not have enough for have enough solutions for all the problems.
So, a little bit about memory. How can we use these things? How can we remember these things? How can we practice them and get them into our brain?
You just said the key word: practice. Practice. There's a lot of learning in repetition. Anybody, you do what is it, karate? You practice?
I do Taekwondo. Yeah.
Taekwondo. I don't want to mess with you. I'm just saying that there's repetition, and you wouldn't know your they're called katas in karate, I think.
Karate forms.
Forms. Yeah. So
Yep.
all your little forms and things that you have to perform in front of your sensei or master to go on to the next belt. If you don't repetitively practice these things, you're not going to commit them to your muscle memory and to your mind memory. So it's the same thing with hand signals. If you use them a lot, you're going to have them stored in your memory a lot. So, and if you're moving as a team, you got to practice these as a team. If you don't practice them as a team, and you got some random individuals in your group that's not used to having hand signals, they're not going to know what's going on whenever you throw them up. We've talked in the past about maybe putting them on some laminating them, printing out some pictures in advance, and laminating them and distributing them to different members of your group, so that maybe if they're on guard duty for the night, they can kind of go through the hand signals and memorize the hand signals, and that way when they're called to go on a patrol, they'll recognize what it is when it's used. It's not necessarily prudent to pull out, to use a hand signal and then to pull out the car to look and see what it is before you,
right.
So if you want to know
you got your translation cards, you're like, what did he say?
Yeah, it's been
trying to figure it out. Yeah, I make a game out of it with the kids. So, when we're out hiking and stuff, we'll split off and, give each other hand signals on what we want each other to do. I don't really think it's relevant, like, say, with your husband at the grocery store. That might look a little weird, but we need Cheerios. I see them. Right? So, yeah. So, all right, Doug. Well, that about takes care of the hand signals. The bottom line is get out there, learn them, practice them. I have a big sheet on my blog that I found that have a lot of really good hand signals for everybody to check out and print out, and then they can use that for them. So head on over there and check it out. Check out Doug's books, and we're going to see Doug again on episode 35. So thanks very much for being with us.
Glad to be here. I'll see you in episode 35.
Thanks so much, Doug, for coming on the show and really sticking with me, being a superhero through this whole process. Definitely couldn't have done this episode without your help. So I really appreciate your time and your energy. And it's a great topic. Technical hand signals are so important to learn and practice and remember, or else you will lose them. It's like, a second language. If you don't practice it, you're going to lose it. I also want to thank all of you out there who have gone out and left reviews for Day After Disaster, Without Land, and The Walls of Freedom on Amazon.com. I've been getting new reviews in, and it's so cool to see all the reviews that are rolling in. So I thank you so much for your time. And if you haven't done it yet, please go out there. I saw a lot more reviews on Day After Disaster than Without Land or The Walls of Freedom. So if you have a moment, go do that. I understand we all have busy lives, but it really helps us out and keeps everything rolling. So thank you for those of you who went out and did it, because it was really nice to see those reviews come in. So usually I have review time or a survival topic for you. But I've been working so hard on trying to keep my system running and back up and running that I didn't really have time to bring you the content that I wanted to today. So we're going to go ahead and just end the show there, and I'm going to have a great survival tip for you next week. Chapter 17 of The Walls of Freedom we'll have next week. And then also we have another great interview with George Hart, and we're going to talk about binoculars versus rangefinders. So that'll be a lot of fun, something to look forward to. So thank you so much for spending your time with me. Remember, until next time, dream, survive, thrive.
Thank you for joining Sarah for this episode of the Changing Earth podcast. Don't forget to pick up your copy of Day After Disaster, Without Land, and The Walls of Freedom at www.author.sarahfhathaway.com. If you love this podcast, please head on over to iTunes or Amazon.com and let everyone know by leaving a review.